Welcome to episode 20 of ECTEL Bytes. The show is a production of the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority, and I'm your host, Coretta Cook-Charles, ECTEL's Communications and Media Relations Manager. Once again, we extend gratitude to the NTRC Saint Lucia for allowing us to use their conference room to host this episode of ECTEL Bytes. In case it's your very first show, and I'm really hoping it's not, ECTEL is the regional regulatory body advising the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commissions, or the NTRCs, on electronic communications or telecommunications matters in our 5 member states, namely the Commonwealth of Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As the name suggests, on ECTEL Bytes, we aim to give our viewers bite-sized information about developments in electronic communications being undertaken by our directorate and like-minded organizations. Today, we are delighted to have as our very special guest, Ms. Melisha Toussaint, engineer at the NTRC in Dominica. Welcome to ECTEL Bytes, Ms. Toussaint.
Thanks for having me, Coretta.
And may I call you Melisha?
Sure.
Excellent. Okay, so let's jump right into it. We've had the NTRCs of St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines on this show on several occasions, so it's our absolute pleasure to have NTRC Dominica on for the very first time. Tell us, what's the mandate of the NTRC Dominica for those persons who may not know, and tell us how your daily operations contribute to achieving your mandate.
Okay, so let me just say good afternoon to all our viewers. Our mandate at the NTRC is to firstly regulate the telecommunication space in Dominica. This includes authorizing licenses for the use of radio frequencies, to process all licenses for radio communications, to authorize or to certify the use of all equipment that uses that sort of technology for communications like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. We also process licenses for the telecommunications providers, the radio broadcasters, and the ham radio operators. Secondly, we also play a very integral part in development of the telecommunication space in Dominica. We do this by utilizing the Universal Service Fund to undertake projects that will enhance access and use of digital services. So my role at the NTRC as engineer, I process applications, I manage the radio spectrum, ensure that everyone is adhering to the allocations that they've been assigned per their license. We also investigate radio frequency interference and radiation as well, because especially when GSM was just coming on board, there was a lot of concern about RF radiation and the effects that it would have on the human body. Another part of my role is to manage the local internet exchange point, DANIX. I also help in maintaining and managing our internal network. So that includes server configuration, making sure that our internet is up and that we have access to all the services that we need to be productive. I also do website maintenance and social media management. And most recently, I have been playing my part as project manager.
That sounds like a lot, Melisha. Okay.
It is.
So you just explained your role as engineer, but you will not find many women as engineers. Tell us, why did you choose engineering, Melisha?
Okay, so for while I was growing up, I had no idea what I wanted to be. Whenever I got asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? I had no idea up until probably college. However, I was always curious about, how telephones work, how does a radio work? Like, why am I hearing this guy from this little box in my home when he's, somewhere I don't even know where he is. And later in my teenage years, how does the internet work? And at CXE level, my focus was mainly sciences. I did physics, I did biology, I did programming. I didn't really have the patience for it, so I dropped it in college. But I recall this one lesson in college physics that briefly touched on the topic of telecommunications and how radio signals are propagated in low Earth orbit. And I think it was at that point I decided what I wanted to pursue academically.
All right. So you mentioned you're also a project manager at the NTRC. So we're going to talk about one of those projects, Girls in ICT. How successful have your initiatives been in this area to encourage more girls to study and pursue careers in STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics?
Okay, so Girls in ICT Day is a day designated by the International Telecommunications Union to encourage girls and young women specifically to pursue education and careers in the digital space. Over the years, the NTRC has introduced young girls to robotics, coding, animation using the Scratch platform, and it was very well received. Participation was amazing. And, as project manager of that aspect of our operations for the past 3 or 4 years, I believe, my focus is to get to the young girls before they are in the third form. I believe the third form is when they choose their CXC subjects. So we want to inspire them. We want to interact with them on that level so that more of them would be inclined to select IT as one of their CXC subjects. The feedback from our events so far have been very satisfactory, although I personally think that the level of participation can be improved because we have so many primary schools. We have about 50 something primary schools in Dominica, and we also tend to consider the first and second forms of the high schools. So it's, a pretty large undertaking if we want to reach every young girl in that age group. So we don't really have the resources to reach as many girls as we would like to. But we recognize the challenge, and we have made a commitment to work with the Ministry of Education more closely moving forward.
All right. And just to point out, well, you would have known because thanks to the NTRC Dominica, you organized the prize giving for ECTEL Girls in ICT competition, and almost all of the participants were from Dominica. So it was good to see that, Melisha. So the interest is there. As you said, when you get the support from other entities, then I'm hoping you will see greater impact. All right, so we have seen from time to time various NTRCs and even ECTEL sharing on social media or on traditional media the correct mechanism for consumers of electronic communication services to lodge their complaints. Does the Commission receive an influx of complaints from disgruntled customers there in Dominica?
I wouldn't say an influx, but on average, we receive about 6 complaints annually.
That's not too bad. What percentage of these complaints are rectified in a timely manner?
I think to answer that question, I should explain to the viewers the process and why some of these complaints are not handled in a timely manner or as expected, doesn't meet the time expectations of the complainant. So when a customer has a complaint, the first thing that they would do is fill out complaint form 1, which can be accessed via our website, ntrc.dm. And the provider with which they are lodging this complaint they are required by law to acknowledge that complaint, receipt of that complaint within 3 days. And at that point, a 30-day period commences where the provider and the complainant will work to resolve their issues without NTRC's intervention. However, after that 30 days has elapsed, the complainant is, they can, if they want to, take it further. If they require our intervention, they would fill out complaint form 2, which is also available on our website, and lodge a complaint with the NTRC. So our role is kind of like a mediator between ECTEL and the complainant, where after receiving the complaint form 2, we will gather all our data regarding that particular issue, and we will submit that to ECTEL for guidance on how to proceed. As you know, as the viewers might know, that ECTEL is the overarching organization for NTRC, the NTRCs in each member state. So what I've noticed is that, first of all, the 30-day period is a bit extensive, considering that a lot of the customers, they would have been complaining to their provider prior to the submission of complaint form 1. So that in itself is like an additional headache to them, kind of. And they are usually not willing to wait that long for NTRC to step in. Then the other issue is that hopefully this can be addressed with the new Telecommunications Act. The other issue is that as the local regulatory body for Dominica, I believe that we can be given a little more autonomy in handling some of these complaints without it having to go to ECTEL, which has to deal with the complaints from each of its member states. So that's another bottleneck that exists, and hopefully we can address it in the near future.
Okay, thanks, Melisha. And I believe you're correct. The EC bill is supposed to address this. So when we have a show on that, we will explain to consumers some of the increased responsibilities, so to speak, that NTRCs will be given. So thanks for bringing that up. All right, so NTRC recently announced the revamping of its Net for All program funded by the Universal Service Fund. What exactly is Net for All, and what is new with the initiative?
Okay, so as the name implies, Net for All is basically NTRC's initiative to provide net for all.
Internet, right? Let's say internet to be absolutely clear
internet.
about what we're talking about.
Okay, internet. So we recognize the vital role that having access to the internet plays in shaping our economy and our development, our lives. So we have this initiative where we subsidize the cost of residential broadband to people, particularly households that have students, so that they might be able to afford internet because, well, everybody knows the state of the global economy, not just in Dominica, but the global economy, and things are getting hard everywhere. So this is just our attempt to play our part in making internet access more affordable to people who may otherwise not be able to afford it.
Okay, so you mentioned household with students, but are there any other criteria that you'd like to mention for persons who might be interested?
Right. So one of the requirements, although we don't, we try to be a little flexible, but one of the requirements is that the person applying should have their salary should not exceed $2,500 a month.
Okay. All right. So I'm not sure if you said it. If you did, my apologies. So it's revamped because I've seen it on social media, but I'm not sure what is new about it. Did you already explain what's new about it?
Oh, no. I believe previously the salary cap, where we capped the salary, was $1,500.
Okay. Okay. All right.
But over time we noticed that, people within that new bracket under $2,500, they also have challenges.
Yes. Okay. So how many persons are you serving currently with this project versus how many do you believe are
Right now we currently have 115 active customers.
And how many are you hoping to serve, Melisha? I'm sure it's way more than that. How many are you really hoping to serve?
We are hoping, well, I would say yes, it is.
Okay.
Because we launched it in I believe 2020, and we really hoped that we would have, the uptake would have been, more, like more enthusiastic about that package. However, I believe that because most homes would already have internet, that was, kind of a bit of I wouldn't say challenge, but they would not have need for this program. And also a lot of people tend to rely on mobile data, and they may not see value in having broadband, because something that we notice a lot less people are using computers, especially in rural areas. They may not be using, computers to access the internet. Everything is done, with their mobile phone, because it's more, as the name implies, mobile.
Okay. So Melisha, for example, if somebody already has the internet, and they're getting 2.5 or less, and they learn about this initiative today, are they able to still apply, or is it for persons who would have not had the internet prior?
They can still apply. However, they may be required to switch their provider.
Okay.
we also have to look at it from the provider's standpoint, because we have to, try to balance everything as much as possible as the regulators.
Yes.
To basically slash this customer's bill, it wouldn't be very forthcoming on their part. So existing customers, people who already have broadband, they have an option to sign up as a new customer with another provider if they want to take advantage of that program.
Okay, all right. I hope the next time we speak, that number would have doubled, because it's a really worthwhile initiative, especially for households with students. So I'm putting out a call to persons who may not have, internet, to reach out to the NTRC Dominica to find out more about the Net for All program and take them up on this amazing offer. All right, so apart from Net for All, NTRC Dominica, under the Universal Service Fund, you have a community Wi-Fi project. Tell us about this. Is it across Dominica, or is it only in a few communities? What is it about?
Okay, so the community Wi-Fi project initially started as a means of reconnecting or rural villages, specifically on the east coast of Dominica post Hurricane Maria in 2017. The idea is to utilize the Universal Service Fund to finance the backhaul and equipment for these Wi-Fi networks, so that the communities can leverage the network to generate income to finance the backhaul on its own. We first deployed a community Wi-Fi network in Benz, which is on the north of the island, and it was later followed by another community on the northeast coast, Pennville, where we also had one in the southeast of the island that we partnered with the Internet Society Dominica chapter to deploy. And that particular project started right before the pandemic. I think currently the Benz and the Grand Four networks might be experiencing some technical difficulties that we need to address. However, the infrastructure is there, and I know the community of Benz have been enjoying that service for quite some time, since 2019. We were actually approached by a Kalinago native to do a similar network in the Kalinago territory. For the viewers who are unaware of the Kalinago, that is our indigenous people of Dominica that were previously referred to as Caribs.
Yes.
Yeah, but the proper name is Kalinago.
Right.
So we gave them some financial and technical support to do that project. The Kalinago people are enjoying their connectivity on their community network. As time progressed, and as the internet service providers reconnected more and more of these rural communities, our model sort of changed, where we decided to focus on popular tourist spots, and also popular spots with the locals. For example, we have deployed a network on the Bayfront to connect the cruise ship visitors, because that is the port of entry for the cruise ships. So the cruise season commenced in October, I believe, and in the last month we saw 3,042 guests using that network. We also have one on the Rosa River bank, the City River bank. That's a very, very popular spot with our locals. And that network sees over 2,000 guests on average per month. We also plan to deploy some more. For example, we plan to do one in the Rosa Botanic Gardens. That is another popular tourist destination. And in Lapland, the community of Lapland on the southeast.
Okay. No, sounds pretty interesting. And what was coming to mind is I'm hoping that the NTRC Dominica has signage in these areas to say that you are the ones providing this service, right?
Well, we do have a splash page that as soon as you log onto our network, you see that it is being provided by the NTRC. And sorry, let me just correct myself. The networks in Lapland and the Botanic Gardens are in progress.
Oh.
And we plan to do more in Point Michelle, Castle Bruce, Maho, Wesley, and in Tukari on the northwest. Tukari is it's a pretty popular spot for both locals and tourists alike. They have, you know, they have a seaside restaurant type thing going on where the lobster is really, really good. So I think people will enjoy having access to the internet while they enjoy the lobster.
Yeah. Sounds good, sounds good. Okay, so thanks for that, Melisha, and it really does sound like you guys are doing a lot of work, especially connecting people, not just locals, but tourists as well, to the internet. Okay, so you are integrally involved in planning and executing the Commission's annual Tech Expo. What's the aim of this initiative and when is it next scheduled for?
Okay, so the Tech Expo is, we started it off in 2020, right before COVID. We trained teachers from each of our 14 high schools. And we also donated Arduino Uno basic starter kits to each of these schools so that they can build unique projects to address some issue in society, whether it be agricultural, environmental sensing, or robotics, using that kit. We also allotted a budget of 500 EC dollars for the purchase of electronic components for each of those projects, because the basic starter kit is, all the components are generic. However, based on the project that each school would be undertaken, they would require specific components to complete their project. And we had so many challenges in starting that project 3 years ago. Right after training, we had our first lockdown, and we resumed in late 2020, and by the middle of 2021, we had our second lockdown. So when school resumed, I think the following year, it was just about, in the last term of the school year. So it wasn't really feasible to take it on at that time. However, at the start of the 2022 academic year, we took it up again, and we finally set a date that we had to postpone it eventually, because there was a weather system that was, well, we were expecting to be impacted by a weather system, and then the venue was booked for some other event. So it was just one challenge after the next. but thankfully we finally did it and at the start of the summer 2023. And unfortunately for us, the level of enthusiasm kind of waned over time. So we only had 4 out of the 14 high schools participating. However, they all submitted great projects, and we are hoping that this could be an annual event. We've learned from our challenges, and we have made a commitment to work closely with our educators and the Ministry of Education for the staging of the next one, which we hope to have the day following Girls in ICT Day 2024, which is April 26th, 2024.
Yeah, that sounded like you had a lot of challenges, but as you said, you learn from them and then you come again, stronger next year. So we're looking forward to hearing more about that early next year. Okay, so we've spoken about a lot, but are there any other major projects being carried out by the NTRC in Dominica that you'd like to share with us before we wrap up, Melisha?
Okay, sure. I don't think I had mentioned this before, but in the summer 2022, I did do a tech summer camp. I called it Tech It Out, where we had 2 cohorts learning technical skills over a 2-week period. The courses included graphic design, web design, app development, video production, coding, and robotics. And it was very well attended, very well received, and people have been asking, when is the next one? But because of, planning of the Tech Expo, we kind of had to, skip doing it this year. But hopefully we can do it again next year. And we have also been discussing, collaborating with the other NTRCs with, some of the stuff that they are doing. For example, NTRC SVG has this amazing iCode program that they're doing. And I think the goals sort of align with what we're trying to achieve with the Tech Expo. So there might be an opportunity for us to collaborate there. And I guess we will see how it goes.
It's as if you're seeing my notes, Melisha. One of the notes I made had to do with the, NTRC collaborating and seeing what worked, in that country and what can be modeled there. So yes, that sounds great. All right, so as you wrap up, share with us your website and social media platforms and tell consumers of electronic communication services in Dominica, especially, why they should follow on these platforms.
Okay, so our main channel for reaching the public is our website, www.ntrc.dm or www.ntrcdominica.dm. And you can also follow us on social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter, although we have not been very active on those platforms. But I'd encourage everyone to, follow us, check out our website, because not only is there useful information to remain educated on our role as the regulators, but we also play a key role in the development of the telecommunications industry. And we often have a lot of opportunities to learn that, specifically young people can take advantage of. So if you're a parent, follow us. You might find, a nice little program for your child or your loved one. And yeah.
No, that's good enough. Parents are always looking for things to occupy their children, so I think that was a good plug. So any closing remarks, Melisha?
No, I think
You've
I'm
spoken a
still
lot.
nervous. I haven't I haven't calmed down yet.
No, well, you gave us a lot of
But
information.
yeah, hopefully I wasn't too much of a nervous wreck. But thank you very much for the opportunity. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
And thank you so much for being our guest. And there's a lot to talk about. So we'll see when next you can come on board. Thank you so much, Melisha.
Thank you, Coretta.
So thanks so much for joining us for episode 20 of ECTEL Bytes. And that was Miss Melisha Toussaint, an engineer at the NTRC in Dominica. And as I mentioned, I'm hoping to have her or any other representative from the NTRC in Dominica on our future shows. So in case you join us late, as I just said, that was Melisha Toussaint from the NTRC in Dominica, and she is an engineer. Make sure you visit them on social media and their website, www.ntrcdominica.dm, for more information about their projects. And we heard about quite a bit, the Net for All project, the Community Wi-Fi project. We heard about the annual Tech Expo that they're trying to resuscitate, as well as the Tech It Out summer program. She spoke about so much, and we're really hoping that persons who are in need, especially, could benefit from the Net for All will sign up. We'll sign up and move that number from 115 to 300 by next summer. So that's a challenge. So if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to reply. This episode of ECTEL Bytes will be on our YouTube channel, that is at ECTEL, and also on Instagram and Twitter, that's ECTEL Authority. So be sure to like the post and share it with your contacts. Do not keep it to yourself. Once again, our deepest thanks to the NTRC Saint Lucia for allowing us to use their conference room to host this episode of ECTEL Bytes. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again virtually before the end of the year for another episode of ECTEL Bytes. I'm your host, Coretta Cook-Strauss, ECTEL's Communications and Media Relations Manager. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, do keep safe and take care.